All right, let's just jump right into this explainer. Today, we're taking a really contemplative look at child development, but we're going to do it through a totally unique, highly philosophical lens. We're exploring the insights of a fascinating thought leader named Oluyomi Oladevid. Specifically, we're unpacking a piece she wrote back in May of 2022 called Born to Size. It's a short text, but honestly, it is powerful. She challenges us to completely rethink the very foundations of how we raise and educate the next generation. It's this incredible approach that perfectly blends sharp technical insight with deep reflective contemplation. To really hook our imagination, she uses a brilliant metaphor right from the very start. Just picture an elephant. It's a simple image, right? But it carries absolutely massive conceptual weight. She uses this imagery of elephants growing to their magnificent size to make a really profound point about human development. And what it does is it immediately shifts our mindset. It pulls us away from strict classroom desks and rigid schedules and points us straight toward the natural world, prompting us to think about growth in its most organic, fundamental form. This brings us to a quote that brilliantly illustrates the central poetic argument of her entire essay. As she puts it, as important as education is, elephants need no schooling to be big, just the right nurture and nutrition. I mean, wow, it is a stunningly simple way to anchor our whole journey today. Now, to be clear, she is absolutely not dismissing education. She explicitly acknowledges how important it is, but she's drawing this critical, defining distinction between formal schooling and the sheer biological and emotional necessity of nurture and nutrition. She's essentially asking us to consider a wild idea, that reaching our full potential, our full size, so to speak, might actually rely much more heavily on the environment we're nurtured in rather than just the institutions we happen to attend. Section 1. Who is the author? Oluyomi Oladevid. When you look at her official branding and the spaces she operates in, you instantly get the vibe of a structured, serious thinker. She's clearly someone who deals in high-level technical insights and policy briefs, yet her approach leaves this wide-open space for deep contemplation. It shows us that she doesn't just tackle complex societal issues as cold, detached data problems. Not at all. She sees them as deeply human puzzles that require real visionary thinking to solve. To truly understand her perspective, we just need to look at how she describes herself. She is Nigerian, and she makes it incredibly clear that she deeply loves people. That love, that is the absolute foundation of her work. She is highly concerned about global development and transformation, but she isn't just sitting on the sidelines observing. Her work is actively focused on generating tangible solutions and providing clarity where it's needed most. She aims to influence high-level policy and strategy, and fundamentally, she notes that she is entirely driven by her faith, beautifully describing her Father God as the owner of the universe and the wheel within her wheels. So this tells us that her holistic view on child development comes from a deeply grounded, purposeful, and globally minded place. Section 2. Rethinking schools and the business of parenting. So the crucial point she makes here is a really sharp contrast. When we actually get down to the business of parenting, she argues that children don't merely need traditional schools. Instead, they fundamentally require healthy and wholesome learning communities. Think about the massive difference between those two concepts for a second. A traditional school so often implies a rigid, standardized system that's focused purely on academic output, right? A healthy and wholesome learning community, on the other hand, echoes that elephant metaphor we talked about earlier. It suggests a vibrant, highly supportive ecosystem designed to nurture the whole child, emotionally, physically, and intellectually. She is really pushing us to redefine where and how true learning actually happens. Section 3. Parents and policy seeking traction. Now, she uses a very specific, high-level economic and sociological term here, the education production function. This is exactly how she bridges the gap between your living room and the halls of government. Because within this framework, she advocates fiercely for parents. She emphasizes that the complementary role parents play in this whole production function needs significantly more policy traction. Basically, she's saying that if we want better educational outcomes, if we actually want to hit major global targets like SDG 4, we can't just keep throwing policy at traditional schools. We need real, actionable backing in global policy that empowers parents to create those healthy, nurturing environments. In her eyes, parents are the crucial and frankly often overlooked variable in the whole education equation. Section 4. Nature versus nurture, the core argument. Nature, nurture. Bringing us right back to those magnificent elephants we saw at the very beginning, she actually concludes her essay with these two simple, powerful words. They perfectly encapsulate her entire philosophy. It's this beautiful acknowledgement of what we're born with, our inherent nature, our potential size, combined with the absolute unavoidable requirement of nurture to actually achieve it. You literally cannot have one without the other. And according to her, our current systems might just be leaning way too far into institutional schooling, while totally neglecting the fundamental power of natural nurture. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a question directly inspired by her work. How do we balance nature and nurture to build healthy learning communities for our own children? Oluyomi Ola-David has given us a profoundly important framework today. She's challenging us to look way past traditional schooling and advocate for real policy traction that puts power back in the hands of parents. So how can you, right now in your own community, shift the focus toward truly nurturing the next generation so they can grow to their full size? Think about that as you go through the rest of your day. Thanks so much for exploring these incredible insights with me.